Before we dive into today's topic of the musical alphabet, it's important to understand the phenomena known as sound and the science behind it. So energy is all around us. Sound waves are all around us. We hear these sound waves through our ears, which then gets interpreted by our brain. To make sense of these sound waves, we classify the sounds that we hear as pitches. A pitch is simply a sound wave that is produced either from a musical instrument, the human voice, or that of an object against another object. If we dive under the hood even further, a pitch is simply a sound wave vibrating. Now, the amount of times per second that a sound wave vibrates determines its frequency. Now, this is measured in a unit of measurement known as hertz, or Hz. The higher number of times per second that a sound wave vibrates, the higher its frequency and the higher number of hertz. Conversely, the fewer times per second that a sound wave vibrates, the lesser its frequency and the smaller its number. So again, to make sense of this to our muggle ears, anything that has a high frequency, we consider it to be a high pitch. On the other side, anything that has a lower frequency is that of a lower pitch. And if you're still a bit confused between high pitch and low pitch, easiest way to think of it is a flute and a bass guitar. The flute is a higher pitched instrument and the bass guitar produces low pitches. So scientifically speaking, our range of human hearing is from 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz, or 2 megahertz. So all the sounds that we can hear as humans fall into this range. That's why often school children will put on a tone generator or have one of those little dog whistles, because the more we age, the less we can actually hear at the higher frequencies. Okay, so now we understand the science, let's talk about the musical alphabet. So each language has an alphabet, and that alphabet consists of letters or characters which when combined together form the words, which once you learn how to speak those words, convey meaning to a speaker of that same language. So all the words that I'm speaking to you now in English that you're understanding through your ears, interpreting through your brain, are made up of only 26 letters. Now, of course, all the words I'm speaking might not include those 26 letters, but all we have at our disposal is those 26 letters. The musical alphabet only has 12. So let's just ponder that for a second. All the music that you've ever heard, that you're currently listening to, and that you will hear in the future, 99.99% of it was produced by musicians, artists, songwriters, and composers who had a palette of just 12 notes at their disposal. So the musical alphabet is made up of the following notes: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. But hang on a second, Nathan, that's only 7. You would be correct. We add another 5 notes in between certain letters to give us the full 12 notes of the musical alphabet. Okay, so now we know the letters, let's talk about how they're often used. Well, all the music that we've ever heard, that we're currently listening to and that we will hear in the future, 99.99% of it is produced using just these 12 notes. But at the same time, not all musicians use the 12 notes, just like I'm not using all the letters of the English alphabet right now to talk to you. So let's take that concept a little bit further. Musicians can play single notes. They can play single notes in a sequence, which we call melodies. Melody is the part of a song that we hum along to, or we sing, or that gets stuck in our head for 10 years. Or putting notes together in certain order, in a certain pattern, or what we call intervals, creates certain type of sounds. Now those intervals, when the 2 notes are played together, give a certain feeling: happy, sad, stress, tension, euphoria, etc. If we take this concept out even further, we have this idea of a sequence of notes, 8 of them, which we get scales. Now, depending on the intervals, it will give you a different sounding scale. You can think of musicians as oral painters, if you like. A painter with a paintbrush and a blank canvas with these different colours. Now, they might like to use this colour and that colour. They might mix the 2 colours together to create a brand new colour. It's the same with musicians, artists, songwriters, and composers. They're using pitches that are created by their respective instrument or their voice, and they're moulding them, they're painting with them to create the music that we all know and love. So in terms of the musical alphabet, we start here on C. Now we go, the next note up here is a D. E, F, G, and then we repeat the cycle again, starting at A, B, and then we get back to C. But that's, however, only 7 out of the 12 notes that we need to make the musical alphabet. So we have 5 more. We have C sharp, D flat, D sharp, E flat, F sharp, G flat, G sharp, A flat, and A sharp, B flat. So the reason why they have the 2 names is as follows. If we're starting here on the note C, where when we rise, we sharpen. So this is a C sharp note. Conversely, if we are playing the note D and we go down, so this way, we are flattening. So it's a D flat, C sharp, D flat. Okay, so it's exactly the same note. This is exactly the same for the other notes. D sharp or E flat, F sharp or G flat, G sharp to A flat, and then A sharp or B flat. So that's the 12 notes of the musical alphabet on the piano. Now you might be thinking, well, there's all of the rest of the keys down there and the rest of the keys down here. So how do they fit into the picture? This here is a C, and so is this note, and so is this note. They're all different shades of each other. So when we're talking about octaves, we're talking about this idea of the same pitch but in different locations along the piano, or whichever instrument you're playing. If I was to play all of the C's on the piano, it would sound like this. In a sense, they are all the same colour, but different shades. You can think of it as darker shades, the lower in pitch, until we get to the higher pitch, the lighter in the shade. Okay, so let's have a look at this instrument. We have an electric guitar here. This is a standard electric guitar. It's a Fender Stratocaster. And in terms of the musical alphabet, the way we produce pitches on this instrument is we place fingers on certain frets. Now, if I'll put a bit of a zoom in there, you can see the gold bars there. Okay, so those gold bars are frets, and then we have spaces between them. So we place our fingers in one of the spaces, and then with this hand, we use a pick, or with our finger, we pluck the string. And then that produces a certain sound, okay? That produces a certain note of the musical alphabet. Okay, so let's have a look at the strings without putting any fingers here to make any notes. We're just playing the open strings, okay? So we have an E, A, D, G, B, and E. Okay, now let's have a look at where we place the fingers on this part of the neck and what happens to the musical alphabet, or what we actually do for the instrument. So if I put my finger here on the first fret on the top string here, which is E, or the string closest to me, so we know this is an E, so this fret here is an F. If we move up another fret, it's then F sharp, G flat. If we move up a next fret, it's G, G sharp, A flat, A sharp, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D flat, D, D sharp, E flat, and then back to E again. Okay, so a full octave on the guitar is 12 frets. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the same for all the other strings. If we were to go fret by fret by fret by fret, we're going up by what we call a semitone. Now, we'll talk about the intervals in another video, but in terms of relating this to the piano, every time you move up a fret, it's like you're moving to the very, very next note of the piano. Okay, so here is my electric bass. This is a Fender Jazz bass. All right, we can see it has 4 strings, not 6. But the process and the idea behind this instrument and the guitar is the same. Each time you place a finger on a certain fret, you're creating a pitch of the musical alphabet. Again, similar to the guitar, where we had the tuning E, A, D, G, B, E from top to bottom. These 4 strings of the bass are E, A, D, and G. Again, the process is the same. If we're playing E here on the top string, and I place my finger on the first fret, we play an F note. F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D flat, D, D sharp, E flat, and E. Now, depending on how big the piano is, or how big the guitar or the bass guitar is, how long the fretboard is, how many notes you have at your disposal, essentially is that, how many notes you have at your disposal. Now, we can find the note C all over the piano in different spots. It's always to the left of the two black notes, as we saw in the video before. Okay, so let's make sense now of this octave. An octave is simply 8 notes. It's the distance from the starting note all the way through the cycle back to the start again. But instead of going right back to the start and playing the same note again, we're actually playing an A note that's an octave higher in pitch. So the explanation behind this is if you play the note A in the middle of the piano, you're playing A 440. Now what this means is you're playing an A note and its frequency is 440 Hertz, or it vibrates 440 times per second. Now if you go to the next A an octave higher, you will find that it has doubled. It's now 880 Hertz. Conversely, if you start at 440 in the middle of the piano and go down an octave to the next A, you'll find that it's 220 Hertz. This is where music becomes really scientific, and if you're really technically minded and scientifically minded, you'll start to discover all these really, really cool patterns. There's a whole thing about sacred geometry too, which is beyond the breadth of this video, but I urge you to check it out. It's really cool. Thanks for watching, guys. Trust you learned something. If there's something you would like me to decipher for you, please leave a comment in the comment section and I'll get around to making a video for you. Thanks, guys. Talk soon.